similarly impactful in history, right? All the way up to, the fall of the Roman Empire. Socrates and Plato's writings were revered and looked at for, logic and stuff like that to continue further.
Start a philosophy course and try to avoid Socrates.
Yeah, and it's so both of them are so historically prevalent, but it's just in different flavors that we still see them and revere them to
Yeah.
this day.
Yeah.
Even though Socrates believed in an afterlife and believed that his soul was going to a better place, so like taking a look at all these similarities, it's really unique. But I think you nailed it with it's who talks about them afterwards and what's the narrative that they give.
Yeah. One of the great lines I think that I've come across is that each famous philosopher gets his start by misinterpreting the philosophers before him.
Sure.
And trying to solve the problems that he sees that they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they didn't mean that.
Yeah, interesting.
It is. It's
Stumbling upon new content.
No, really, it is fun, and it's a conversation, and I do think of it as like it's the big picture, and we're mostly concerned with the smaller picture inside the bigger picture.
Yeah.
How do you retire?
Yeah. Yeah.
I see so much of that anymore. How do you build up your retirement thing? And I said, put it all in a 401k and then wait for President Trump to start changing the economy and watch all of your savings tank.
Yeah.
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 Maybe. I don't know. The 15th of April is when I expect to get my next statement. So
Sure.
I had a friend, Heinz Newman, who taught accounting. He might still, I don't, he's older than me, he's in his 80s. But he also did his own investment strategies and taught investment strategies.
Sure.
He was like a broker, I guess.
Yeah.
Besides teaching full-time for UAA. And I remember, for the 4 years I was teaching as a full-time professor out at the Eagle River White Building,
Sure.
where that we had the advanced college, high school, the UAA. I can't think of what we call it right now. It's still there. We actually still do it. I have it here. Alaska Middle College School.
Sure.
That one. So I was there for 4 years, and there's like a faculty area where we would all sit and work on things. And he was always sitting at the one machine, and he was sitting there the whole time. God damn it. He was so stressed out all the time because he's watching everything happening and trying to invest and changing his investments, and then damn it, and I thought, I'm never going to be like that. I'm never going to be that stressed out by the daily ups and downs of
Yeah.
and so when the university, when I first retired from the Army, the university said, do you want your money, you have to invest in either Social Security, or we have a 401k for faculty that want that instead. And I was like, well, I already chipped in enough to Social Security for me to have that. So I'll put it into a 401k. So I started doing that, and I didn't think it would amount to much because I didn't know how long I was going to be here. It turned out to be 30 plus. It's 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so as that's accumulating, I was initially thinking that's just, you know, a paper chase, interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But I never wanted to get involved so personally, you know, that I would be stressed out
Yeah.
by getting the results daily. You know,
Yeah.
so I just get the quarterly statement,
Yeah.
and that's stressful enough. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, last quarter I lost $40,000.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, the one before that I had gone up like $24,000, which made up for some of the loss from before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if you're really planning on living off of this, and that's your main thing, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know? That's not going to work.
Yeah, I tried day trading. I had stocks for a long time, and I call it day trading, but really I was just playing with $200, $400, whatever it was at the time. It's just gambling is all it was. And I found myself in that same state where I'm just panicking, you know, constantly. And I ended up selling off all of my stocks at the time, which wasn't much, but you know, it was just another savings account essentially. Because I just couldn't deal with it, you need kind of a steal the mentality when going towards that.
It's crazy stuff.
So when do you plan on retiring? Do you plan on retiring?
No. Well, I've retired 3 times. The Army retired me,
Sure.
you know, after 16 years, 9 months, and 3 days.
Yep.
But who was counting?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was full retirement, despite
Yeah.
the fact that I didn't reach 20, which, you know, hey, what a deal.
Yeah.
Plus, we kept our house here, and so we're overseas officially.
Sure.
Because Alaska and Hawaii are both considered overseas bases. And
Huh.
so we can go to the base for everything.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were in anywhere, you know, in the lower 48, we would have to be on the economy and use the military insurance.
Sure.
But here we just get all our health care, including medicines and everything, by going to the hospital.
Huh. Interesting.
You know, they don't, you know, they just check our ID card and
Yeah.
you know, I don't have any copay or anything at all,
Nice.
right?
Wow.
But then, you know, I joined UAA after the Army and started working here, and you get older. One of the things that happens, whether you plan it or not, and I ended up eventually being old enough to get Social Security. You know, at 66 for me, it was.
Yeah.
And so, and I you know, I thought, you know, the pressure was on from the government. Hold on, wait until you're 70 something, you know, and then start collecting. And I thought, the only beneficiary of that is the government, you know.
Yeah.
So no thanks. As
Yeah.
soon as I was eligible, I had it clicked on, so I started getting that. So I was retired again, right?
Yeah.
You know, from there. And at about the same time, UAA was being cut.
Sure.
And so they said, no more full-time positions for you. You know, you can keep teaching. You know, we need you for this course. This, you know. So,
Yeah, we can't pay
so-
you full time.
yeah, but you know, so I was okay with that because the influx of Social Security covered that
Yeah.
difference. Plus, the next year, my wife got her portion of Social Security as well. So in a sense, her retirement along with mine, you know, adds, you know, more. But meanwhile, of course, UAA keeps, you know, kept at the time, putting money into 401. But then once I'm retired, I'm no longer in that. So they don't, when they give me my adjunct pay,
Yeah.
they don't also put in money in a 401.
Sure.
You know. But it does go into my tax, you know, so the only thing where I pay tax is the UAA.
Yeah.
But so I think of our situation as a 3-legged stool. The same, you know, when they talk about Alaska, we have a 3-legged stool.
Sure.
You know, the government employees, you know, the PFD and oil, you know,
Yeah.
or you know, and the rest is like fishing and stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make much for the state.
No. What did your wife do for work?
Well, we had 4 children,
Oh, so stay at home.
so she was a stay-at-home
Yeah.
housemaker, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff of that sort. Often it was homeschooling
Yeah.
our children, because there were times when it seemed like that was really the best thing for the particular child.
Hmm.
She never tried to homeschool all 4 of them at once or anything, you know, but
Yeah, it's
But-
definitely a full-time job. I'm talking to my cousins coming from a large family. I have 50 or 60 cousins or so. But they're all starting to have their own kids, and that's what they're saying. Either my spouse can go back to work and money that she makes will cover childcare, and that's it. Or she can just stay at home.
and be even.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And get
quality
to,
of life, you
and
know,
get to spend
better,
time with your kids. Yeah.
better time with the kids, you know.
Yeah.
You want to hire a Spanish babysitter so that they grow up speaking Spanish, or do you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is not such a bad thing.
No,
You know.
no. I'm assuming you have grandkids?
I have a 5-year-old granddaughter
Sure.
who's growing up brilliantly. I have 2 teenage grandchildren. One was adopted and lives with a family in Canada. And the other one, the birth mother has been raising.
Sure.
Both of those are children from my son that I've frequently belittled by pointing out that he had no brain at all
Yeah.
because of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder,
Mhm.
which is just true. It's sad, but it's true. And neither of them are doing even as well as he had.
Sure.
So that's a shame. But yeah, he was the most prolific,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, you know, the one that ought not to be having children at all is the one that's having children, because initially he comes across very well, especially to women that are in the same kind of situations that he's in,
Sure.
so that you're actually building the, did you ever see the movie Idiocracy?
Yeah. Yeah.
The beginning of that, where the intelligent, you know, couple are sitting there planning, well, we're not sure we want to have children yet, you know, so they're not having any children, but
Yeah.
meanwhile, all the idiots are out there
Yeah.
having hundreds of children, not even being able to take care of them.
Yeah, do you think, well, I mean, to create any good fiction, that has to be based in reality, correct? You know, that's one of
The scary thing about that movie was that statistically, it seems pretty accurate.
yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, so yeah, I think they got it started. But now the thing is, an awful lot of people that don't have, you know, high scores on any intellectual measurement often have children that do become brilliant.
Interesting.
I mean, we have lots of examples historically of people that, you know, were the first ones to go to college,
Yep.
but then go on to get their PhD and end up, you know, being smarter than Trump. Sorry about that.
Huh. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm one of the first of my family to go to college, coming from a lot of blue collar.
Yeah, but a really interesting question is the nature of intelligence.
Sure.
Well, a book that I found really fascinating years ago was The Bell Curve
Okay.
by Charles Murray and Richard Herrnstein. And it got into a lot of trouble because a lot of people that didn't read it very well thought that it was implying that there was some sort of race-based effect on intelligence.
Sure.
it's pretty clear if you actually read the book that that was not at all what they were saying. In fact, in a response to that dilemma, years later, Charles Murray said that actually, if you're going to use genetics to talk about intelligence, you would probably need over 2,000 different, categories of genetic individuals, because it's not like everyone that looks like this is going to be like this. That never happens. So their defense, and I at home I have my that page, I have that marked where there's a paragraph that says, if you think that's what we're saying, in the book they say, if you think we're saying there's a racial, association with this, you're not understanding what we're saying.
Yeah.
You say it right in the book, and then you get all these critiques from people that say exactly the opposite, and it's just, these people are critiquing a book about intelligence with clearly not enough intelligence to show that they've actually read and understood the book.
The irony.
Yeah.
So what is the book stating then? Is it talking about socioeconomic?
Oh, the main point of the book, I think, is still absolutely relevant, and that was, let me put it up here so you can see bell curve. There's all kinds of stuff. You'll notice it'll talk about the bell curve wars, because so many people were furious at what they interpreted to be the main point. They were totally wrong. So, what can you say? No, I believe, from my interpretation, and I think this is really what they're trying to say, is that the nature of our economy is becoming more and more technologically based. And in order for you to get a good job in our economy, you're going to need a better and better education to be competitive. Otherwise, you're going to be in the lower class, basically. Although, of course, there are jobs where you can actually make a lot of money, etc. But basically, the jobs for you to get what had been the ideal in the United States of a middle class life, it's going to require a better and better education, more technologically based. And the problem is, in order for you to do well in that kind of an education, you need a certain type of intelligence.
Yeah.
And the bell curve maps out the statistical ways of determining intelligence, right? Those measurements basically started out as a military concern, because the military needed to know when it was recruiting individuals or drafting individuals, most likely, what kind of job that they could give them, right? So they created these tests in order to figure out, what kind of job matches this person's abilities. And so on, and you get these professionals then that try to figure out the best way to measure intelligence. What is intelligence? How do you measure it? Is it a bias? Because of course, if what you're measuring is how well do you speak Greek, well, you need Greek. In your back, you don't understand Greek. Well, so what, your IQ is terrible? No, my Greek abilities are terrible. But if what you're trying to do is get to a particular type of intelligence that's not based on the individual's nurture, right? So it's the nurture nature, right? You want to find out, is there a particular intelligence associated with a person's nature, their genetics, right? And there clearly is, because look at the difference between different types of animals. So, clearly a human has a certain type of ability, of proclivity to learn human language, which, dolphins have a proclivity to learn dolphin language. which I think is a version of Japanese. That was supposed to be funny. It was probably politically incorrect. I actually like the Japanese professors that we have. So that could have just been funny. And plus it's scary because the Japanese eat so many of them. They love dolphins. And you know, I love dolphins too, but in a very different way. I would like to have dolphin friends. And try to learn from them and stuff. And not look at them and think steak. You know, that's different. So how do you avoid a particular cultural bias when you're trying to measure that sort of thing? And if you have been in the Army, you know that they have a particular test that they give everybody that is supposed to be non-language based. You know, it's like you've got a picture of gears and you're supposed to figure out which way does the last gear go. You know, here's a hammer, here's a screwdriver, which tool goes with this, so, basically they're trying to figure out how can you tell intelligence, and there's a rating for it. You can actually rate individuals based on that, and you still argue, well, these people are biased in favor of paper tests that ask you these kinds of questions. That's still a bias. You can't get the heck out of the framework of having a bias. But either way, if what we're looking at is a future where the future of work requires people to be able to code, computer code, and do language codes, and so on, there's a particular kind of mental ability that you can measure for that will get you that. When I took the test in the Army, the Defense Language Aptitude Battery, I cheated because I had studied Latin, French, German, Greek. So I had other languages already, and so I thought of English as one of these languages that has a structure and so on. And so then in the Defense Language Aptitude Battery, what they do is they have a made-up language.
Or she's way too.
They've got a made-up language with made-up grammar, made-up vocabulary, and so on, and they gradually build the complexity of it, and they ask it as you go, and you're basically guessing. Because, of course, this is just a rapid insert into your mind of fake language, and you're trying to figure out if you can understand it. And I did very well, because I had other languages in preparation for it. So, you have biases depending on the type of test, etc. But all the same, what you're going to need, to get the kind of future job that our technology is creating for you. Even if you're a farmer, you need to be able to manipulate the software in order to know how much fertilizer